What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Today I'd like to talk about a few issues, if you care to listen, that I find tend to be muddied by the waters of human thinking. And I'm going to try to do it in a way where I don't sound too, I don't know, like I'm too picking things apart too much or whatnot. I was thinking of my two examples today would be pride and family. How about that? Those would be two good examples of my point. And I've spoken with a lot of different people over the years about ego and about whether or not ego is an essential part of who we are, or whether or not we're supposed to conquer our ego. And I understand ego loss as it happened to me when I was rather young, well, 14 or 15, first time I took a heavy dose of LSD. That's a temporary type of satori, and it's an ego loss that you can't explain to anyone. But it's an all-around awareness and a humbling experience to realize that you're just part of a bigger picture, but at the same time realize that you're an important part. So, to make my point a little, having discussions with people about ego and pride, it seems that there's almost a disgust with pride in society. We all know that most religions have mentions of pride, and there's the old saying that the pride comes before the fall. In a world of balance, you can't just say that pride is a useless part of us. Pride, and let me try to put this to where it doesn't sound proud or egotistical. Pride is something that allows people to move forward in their lives with a particular path because they've been able to confirm through others, at least to an extent, that that's the right path. And here's where it becomes a wrong problem, or a big problem, is in the echo chambers of society. An example is a small town where people don't, let's say 100 years ago, 200 years ago, a small town where people don't really know many outsiders, and a person starts supporting another person because they say, yeah, you're doing a really good job. Let's say a king, for example, or a leader of a small village. And at first he's humble, and he's cool, calm, collected. And the more people that tell him, you do such a great job and you're a great king, you're a great leader, there's two ways that can go. That can either go to his head and become an egomaniacal asshole, which a lot of kings did, or he could remain humble and use that backing of his people as a way to say, I must be doing the right thing because people are agreeing with me. And on the other hand, there's also people who agree with others just because they like the person. It doesn't even matter about the subject. So I'm trying not to make this too complicated. When a person does something that's bad, let's say, or wrong, and they expect to get props from their friends and family, sometimes people will just say, yeah, good job, because they don't want to deal with the person's attitude about it. If they say, well, I wouldn't go down that path, and the person might get all personal about it, and they might get hurt because their pride is hurt. And this is why pride is such an issue. I am not a proud person, and I'm not an egotistical person, but I embrace both of those facets to move forward in my life, because if I can't confirm with at least a few people that I'm doing the right thing, usually family, friends, then all you can do is either rely on your own proud way of saying, well, this is my life, this is how I'm living it, too bad if you don't like it. Or some people take the extreme other end, which is to lose all their pride and become very self-loathing and sad, So, I don't know. Ego to me is something that is a beneficial thing, but it can be abused. And this is how everything is. This is how I view most everything. I mean, everything can be abused, you know. It's like a drug, you know. Drugs can be useful. Drugs can help us when we need pain, when we need them, if we have pain or there's a particular issue, whatever it may be. But if we take too much, it always harms us. And I think that if we follow this path down the line, it's pretty consistent with just about everything, you know. And so the family part of it, I wanted to say that family is very important to a person. And I wanted to kind of take the same approach to it, of balance. I've heard people say that family comes before anything. They would defend a family member they'd never met, let's say, over a stranger that they did know, because it's family. I have never agreed with that. I will never, at least in the way of thinking now, I won't ever agree to that. Bloodlines mean really nothing without some sort of humanity to back it up. You don't respect a person just because they're family. And in the same regards, a child does not have to respect their parents just because they are their parents. Now, in Japanese culture, oh, you better not say that. I mean, you always respect your elders in a lot of cultures, in most cultures. But in those same cultures, often the elders are wise and they know, I guess, how their culture operates. And so you're revering the elders. As a kid, you should always respect your parents, you know, because you don't know better yet. But as you get older, you start to see holes in the families and holes in, you know, I've had family members, not direct family, I guess, I don't know, I won't go into that. My point is that there's no reason to give people respect just because they're family, as opposed to someone who's a friend, let's say. I would, you know, save my friend from drowning over some distant cousin I didn't know. Now, that's a harsh thing to say, I know. But I'm a realist and I try to look at real situations, you know. It's the greater good kind of thing. And it doesn't always agree with people. You know, a lot of people would say, you know, how could you even talk about saving one person and not the other, you know, that was drowning? You know, that's just an extreme example, because we're faced with decisions every day that we have to make, where damned if you do and damned if you don't. And when these decisions are based on emotional responses, such as the belief that, let's say, the family or the ego, you know, the two things that I was talking about here, pride and family, when those things get in the way, sometimes decisions get corrupted. But, I mean, I'm no one to say how another person should view this. This is just my particular take on it. There's just this happy medium somewhere in the middle, and each person has to find their own degree of what this means to them. But I'm just talking about the extreme examples. I've talked to people who say that there's no way around it. The family always comes first. I would say this absolutely about my direct family, my close family, and especially my home family and my kids, my wife. But this doesn't extend to cousins or aunts or uncles that I may not know. I have a few relatives I haven't seen in 20 years. I mean, and why should I give them any more respect than a person I haven't met? And I'll give you kind of an idea of why I think this way. It's because you look back at the Blue Bloods and, you know, the lines of, you know, the long lineage of leaders and rulers and kings who would put someone in power merely because they were blood, not because of their expertise or their dedication to the people. If you... This is still happening now. I mean, there's lineage and bloodlines where people are being put into positions of power because they're family. where people are taking top positions in careers that they have no idea about because they're family, where people are being put into political office, into positions that they shouldn't have just because they're family. And you can see it, how obvious it is all around. Look at all the Bushes. You know, why should any one Bush be in office, let alone have 3 of them? You know, to me it's just a ludicrous that people don't notice this. But what it shows me is that dedication to family often comes before dedication to truth or to the people. And that, in my eyes, is wrong. If you have a failing member of your family that is doing things wrong and purposefully doing things wrong and harming others, you don't stand up for that just because they're family. Because we owe it to each other, all of us, to help each other as much as we can. And sometimes this means that we have to sacrifice what we have been told to be the most important things. Which means sometimes it's okay to have pride, and sometimes it's okay not to love family just because they're family. I'm fortunate in the fact that I love all of my family, the ones that I know anyway, and I would do anything for them. But I do have a few cousins I've never met that I probably wouldn't think twice about. I'd be like, that's nice that you're in my family, that's nice that we share blood, but what really is blood, you know? Does it mean anything? Does it mean they have the same values or the same integrities? No, it just means that they're people who are related to the same people as you. And in ancient times this was more important than it is now. But that's just my take on it, you know. I do love every one of my family members, and that's the thing. I'm just kind of speaking in general here, because I know people who have some pretty crappy parents, and I know some people who, you know, have some pretty crappy brothers and sisters, and they don't want to make waves, or they don't want to speak up because they're family. Don't want to cause waves in the family. And I think if you're going to make waves, it should be from the family. And if you see someone in your family doing something wrong, you're the one who should speak up and say something about it, because they're not going to listen to anyone else except family. And that seems to be the way it goes. So if there's any benefit to having a strong family unit, it would be to be honest with one another and be truthful. So that's all I got. Namaste.